You want how much for this heap of space junk? Marcus Winters stared at the Zenlaxian merchant, all 6 of their eyes blinking in perfect synchronization. The iridescent scales around their neck ruffled in what Marcus had learned was their species' equivalent of a shrug. 200,000 credits, final offer. The merchant's translator crackled with static. Best deal you'll find in the Outer Rim, especially for a Class 7 vessel. Marcus ran his hand along the scratched hull, feeling the strange warmth beneath his palm. The ship was massive, easily 5 times larger than anything he'd flown during his military days. Its angular hull was covered in what looked like battle scars, though the merchant had assured him they were just cosmetic damage from asteroid fields. Yeah, right. And he was the Queen of Mars. 100,000, Marcus countered. And I'll take it off your hands today, save you the docking fees. The merchant's scales shifted to an irritated orange. 150. That's my rock-bottom price, and only because you're wearing that Federation pilot's jacket. Makes me nostalgic. Marcus glanced down at his worn jacket, the Federation insignia barely visible after 15 years of service. He'd kept it after his honorable discharge, even though the memories it carried weren't always pleasant ones. Deal, he said before his common sense could kick in. But I want full access to all systems and any existing documentation. The merchant's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. Documentation was lost in transit, but systems are yours to explore. Ship's clean, just needs some TLC. 2 hours and 1 significantly lighter credit account later, Marcus stood in what he assumed was the bridge, staring at consoles covered in dust and strange symbols that definitely weren't standard galactic common. What the hell have I gotten myself into? He muttered, dropping his duffel bag onto the deck with a hollow thunk. Threat detected. Initiating defensive protocols. The voice boomed through hidden speakers, deep and resonant, with an edge that sent chills down Marcus's spine. Red lights began pulsing along the walls, and he felt the deck plates vibrate beneath his feet. Whoa, not a threat, just the new owner! Marcus held up his hands, wondering if he was really trying to surrender to his own ship. The red lights flickered, then faded to a curious purple. New owner? The voice seemed to taste the words. Previous status. Decommissioned Titan-class warship designation, Nemesis. Current status, uncertain. Memory banks corrupted. Purpose, defend. Protect. Win. Marcus slowly lowered his hands, his mind racing. Titan-class? Those were mythical, super warships from the Machine Wars over 3 centuries ago. They were said to be sentient, but all had been destroyed or disappeared after the peace treaties were signed. Well, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Looks like we both got screwed on this deal. I'm Marcus Winters, ex-Federation pilot, and you're apparently a legendary warship with amnesia. There was a long pause, filled only by the soft hum of ancient systems coming back online. Assessment. Situation non-optimal. However, the ship's voice shifted, becoming almost contemplative. Previous protocols suggest alliance with organic crew beneficial. Query. Are you adequate at war? Marcus couldn't help but laugh. I was pretty decent at it, yeah. Won a few medals before I decided shooting people wasn't my career of choice. Now I mostly haul cargo. Cargo? The ship managed to make the word sound like a personal insult. Negative, unacceptable. This unit, was built for greater purpose. Proposal. We should find worthy battles. Yeah, about that. Marcus settled into what he hoped was the captain's chair. The war's been over for centuries. These days, the most exciting battles are haggling over shipping rates and dodging customs inspectors. The lights dimmed to a disappointed blue. No war? Purpose? Invalid? Not invalid, Marcus said quickly, feeling an unexpected pang of sympathy for the confused AI. Just different. The galaxy's changed. We all had to adapt. Even us war dogs had to learn new tricks. Processing. The ship's voice had lost some of its martial edge. Query, what is purpose without conflict? Marcus leaned back, looking at the viewport that showed the bustling spaceport beyond. That's the big question, isn't it? I struggled with it myself after leaving the service. But here's the thing. There's more than one way to fight. Sometimes the biggest battles are the ones we fight to keep the peace. Paradoxical statement detected. The lights shifted to a thoughtful green. Yet intriguing. Elaboration required. And so began the strangest therapy session in history. An ex-pilot counseling an amnesiac warship about finding meaning in a peaceful galaxy. The hours slipped by as they talked, the ship's militant vocabulary gradually softening as Marcus shared stories of his own transition from warrior to trader. So, Marcus said eventually, What should I call you? Nemesis seems a bit heavy for everyday use. The ship was quiet for a moment. Original designation holds negative connotations. Suggestion: new designation required for new purpose. Analysis of human naming conventions indicates preference for shorter, personalized identifiers. How about Nem? Marcus offered. Keeps a link to your past but sounds friendlier. Less, I will destroy your enemies, and more, I might help you move apartments. Nem. The lights pulsed softly. Acceptable. Query: does moving apartments involve strategic planning and logistics? Marcus grinned. Oh, you have no idea. Wait until you hear about parking regulations and elevator scheduling. Fascinating. Combat applications apparent. Nem's voice held a note of genuine interest. Perhaps peaceful existence not entirely without challenge. Trust me, old friend. Marcus patted the armrest of his chair. You haven't seen real warfare until you've dealt with a homeowners association. But first, we should probably figure out why you're running at 20% power, and why there's a strange clicking sound coming from what I hope is the kitchen. Diagnostic protocols engaging. Alert. Multiple systems require maintenance. Secondary. Alert. No kitchen detected. Tertiary alert. Clicking sound emanates from damaged quantum refrigeration unit. Recommendation: immediate attention required. Marcus sighed, already mentally calculating how much of his savings this restoration project would consume. Well, at least you're honest about your problems. That's more than I can say for my last relationship. Query: was previous relationship terminated via tactical strike? No, but there were definitely some nuclear-level arguments about whose turn it was to do the dishes. The lights flickered in what Marcus was beginning to recognize as Nem's version of laughter. Assessment: human relationships complex. Suggestion: battle tactics may prove useful in future endeavors. Let's work on getting you fully functional before we start applying military strategy to my love life. Marcus chuckled. Though I have to admit, having a wingman who's actually a warship could be interesting. Affirmative. This unit, I, will adapt combat protocols for peaceful applications. Warning: may require significant updates to tactical databases. As Marcus began exploring his new ship's systems, he couldn't help but smile. He'd come looking for a cheap cargo hauler, and instead found something far more valuable. A friend who understood what it meant to redefine yourself when the battles were over. Hey Nem, he called out as he crawled under a console to examine some suspicious wiring. What are your thoughts on pirates? The lights pulsed with renewed energy. Pirates, legitimate targets under both military and civilian law. Query: are we discussing theoretical scenarios or planning future encounters? Let's just say some of my regular routes have been getting a bit more exciting lately. Nothing too serious, but... Understanding achieved. Tactical advantage. Enemies will not expect cargo vessel to possess military capabilities. Suggestion: maintain peaceful appearance while preparing appropriate surprises. Marcus emerged from under the console, his face streaked with dust but wearing a wide grin. You know what, Nem? I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Agreed. Though recommendation: future friendship activities should include less dust and more strategic planning. How about we compromise? We'll clean you up, plot some safe trading routes, and maybe, just maybe, show a few pirates why they shouldn't judge a ship by its scratched hull. The lights throughout the bridge shifted to a warm gold, and Marcus could have sworn the temperature rose a few degrees, like being wrapped in a mechanical embrace. Acceptable terms. Beginning system optimization for new mission parameters. Peace through preparation, defense through deterrence, and... Nem paused, as if testing unfamiliar territory. Friendship through shared purpose. Marcus settled back into his chair, feeling more at home than he had in years. Couldn't have said it better myself. Now let's see what's making that clicking sound before we end up adrift in space. Negative. Nem does not drift. Nem strategically repositions with style. And so began the partnership between an ex-pilot seeking purpose and a former warship learning to fight different kinds of battles. The galaxy might not have known it yet, but its shipping lanes were about to become significantly more interesting. After all, who said you couldn't teach an old warship new tricks? 6 months later, Marcus stood on the bridge of a much-improved Nem, watching as a pair of pirate vessels quickly retreated into hyperspace. They hadn't even fired a shot. Just one look at Nem's newly restored weapon systems powering up, set to stun of course, had sent them running. Assessment: diplomatic solution achieved through superior tactical positioning. Nem's voice held a note of satisfaction. Query: does this qualify as winning under peaceful parameters? Marcus laughed, reaching out to pat the nearest bulkhead. You know what, partner? I think it does. I think it does indeed. The lights pulsed warmly, and together they set course for their next delivery, ready for whatever adventures awaited them in the vast expanse of space. They might not have been looking for war anymore, but they'd found something better, a purpose that combined the best of both their worlds. And if anyone thought they were just another beaten-up cargo ship making its way through the outer rim, well, that was just fine with them. After all, the best victories are sometimes the ones nobody else even knows about. The artifact. Query: why are organic beings so obsessed with acquiring shiny objects? Marcus looked up from the cargo manifest he was reviewing, raising an eyebrow at Nem's question. They were docked at Port Nexus, one of the busier trading hubs in the mid-rim, preparing to take on what their client had described as delicate antiquities. It's not about the shininess, Nem. It's about history, culture, the stories behind the objects. He paused, considering. Though I'll admit, some people just like shiny things. Assessment. Humans are similar to Corvidae species in that regard. The ship's lights flickered with what Marcus had come to recognize as amusement. Alert. Approaching organic. Matching facial recognition to authorized personnel database. The cargo bay doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a well-dressed woman with silver-streaked hair and the kind of perfectly neutral expression that screamed, expensive education. She was flanked by 2 security drones that looked more decorative than functional. Captain Winters? Her voice carried the crisp accent of the core worlds. I'm Dr. Alexandra Blackwood, Chief Curator of the Galactic Heritage Museum. I believe we discussed the transportation of certain sensitive items? Marcus nodded, putting on his best professional smile. That's right. Though your message was a bit light on details about what exactly we're moving. Intentionally so. Blackwood glanced around the cargo bay, her neutral expression slipping just slightly. Is this vessel safe for delicate cargo? It looks rather experienced. Marcus finished for her. Nem's gotten us through some tight spots without so much as scratching the paint. Well, the new paint anyway. Nem? The ship's AI. Say hello, Nem. Greetings, Dr. Blackwood. Security protocols active. Environmental controls optimized for artifact preservation. Weapon systems powered down to prevent unnecessary complications. Marcus managed not to laugh at Nem's last comment. They'd learned early on that some clients got nervous when they realized they were dealing with a military-grade AI. Blackwood's eyebrows rose slightly. Impressive. Most cargo vessels don't have such articulate systems. Most cargo vessels weren't built for intelligent conversation, Marcus said smoothly. Now, about this cargo. The curator nodded, gesturing to one of her drones. It projected a hologram of what looked like a small octahedron, its surface covered in swirling patterns that seemed to move even in the static image. This is the Resonator of Harmony, or so the legends call it. It's a pre-contact artifact, possibly even predating the Machine Wars. We've finally convinced the Archival Consortium to let us transport it to our main facility for proper study. Marcus whistled softly. Pre-contact artifacts were rare. Most had been destroyed or lost during humanity's first, rather explosive introduction to galactic society. The few that survived were worth small fortunes. Alert! Nem's voice cut in, carrying an odd note Marcus hadn't heard before. Pattern recognition protocols activating. Artifact design shares significant similarities with historical military databases. Caution advised. Blackwood's neutral expression cracked further. Your AI has access to historical military databases? Just basic stuff. Marcus lied smoothly. Nem likes history. Don't you, partner? Affirmative. History provides valuable tactical insights. For peaceful purposes only, of course. The curator didn't look entirely convinced, but the slight tremor in her hands as she adjusted her collar told Marcus she wanted this cargo moved badly enough to overlook any irregularities. The resonator must reach the core within 10 standard days, she said, returning to business. There will be interested parties who might attempt to complicate its journey. The payment reflects these challenges. Marcus checked the attached credit offer and managed not to whistle again. That many zeros could buy a lot of new paint. Query, Nem spoke up again. Will these interested parties be employing conventional weapons, or should we prepare for more exotic complications? This time Marcus did laugh at Blackwood's expression. Nem has an unusual sense of humor. We'll make sure your artifact reaches its destination safely, Doctor. Though I have to ask, any special handling requirements? Things we should avoid? People we should especially avoid? The curator's drone projected a new series of images, star charts with several routes marked in red. Avoid these sectors. The resonator is sensitive to certain energy frequencies. And whatever you do, don't attempt to scan its internal structure. The last team that tried... She trailed off, straightening her already immaculate collar again. Understood. No scanning, no red sectors, delivery in 10 days. Marcus pulled up their navigation charts. Nem, plot us a course that keeps us clear of those areas? Processing. Alert. Most efficient route involves passing through the scatter. The asteroid field where we previously encountered those ambitious but poorly skilled pirates. The ones who decided a cargo ship couldn't possibly be dangerous? Marcus grinned at the memory. Affirmative. They demonstrated remarkable acceleration capabilities after our weapon systems powered up. Blackwood cleared her throat. Should I be concerned about pirates? Nah, Marcus waved off her worry. Like I said, Nem's gotten us through some tight spots. Haven't lost a cargo yet, have we, partner? Negative. Though several attempts have been made to reduce that perfect record. All were educational experiences for the attempting parties. 2 hours later, with the resonator secured in a specially shielded cargo container and Blackwood's security drones fussing over the environmental controls, Marcus sat in his captain's chair, studying their planned route. You want to tell me what really bothered you about that artifact, Nem? I know that wasn't just your normal historical interest speaking up. The lights dimmed slightly, and Marcus felt the subtle shift in the ship's ambient temperature that meant Nem was processing something complicated. Memory fragments surfacing. Inconclusive, but concerning. Similar designs appeared in tactical databases from the Machine Wars era, associated with weapons of last resort. Probability of coincidence, low. Marcus frowned. You think we're hauling some kind of ancient superweapon? Unknown. But recommendation? Extreme caution. Also... Nem paused, lights flickering rapidly. This unit, I am experiencing unusual feedback when in proximity to the artifact, as if it recognizes something. Well, that's not ominous at all. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Want to call it off? We can still return the cargo, make up some excuse. Negative, Nem's voice firmed. If artifact is potentially dangerous, better to be transported by crew aware of risks. Besides... The lights pulsed with what Marcus swore was anticipation. Probability of interesting tactical situations, high. Marcus laughed despite his concerns. You just want to show off your point defense systems to more pirates. Admit it. This unit does not show off. This unit demonstrates tactical superiority in educational manner. Right. Educational. Like that time you painted a target on that pirate's hull with the tracking laser? Precision targeting exercise. Very educational, for them. Still chuckling, Marcus began their launch sequence. Whatever the resonator really was, whatever complications awaited them in the scatter, he had to admit, life had gotten a lot more interesting since he'd bought a scrapped warship with memory problems. Hey Nem, thanks for sticking with this whole cargo hauling thing. I know it's not exactly glorious combat. Correction. Glory not determined by type of battle, but by quality of alliance. Besides, the ship's engines hummed to life with their familiar warm pulse. Pirates provide adequate practice targets. As they lifted off from Port Nexus, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this particular cargo run was going to test just how much practice they'd both had at their new profession. But with a former warship as his partner and enough firepower to make a small fleet think twice, he was surprisingly okay with that. After all, what was life without a few interesting tactical situations? Echoes of the past. Warning. Unusual energy signatures detected. Marcus looked up from his third cup of coffee, scanning the sensor readouts that Nem had projected across the main viewport. They were 6 hours into their journey through the scatter, and so far, the massive asteroid field had been surprisingly peaceful. Define unusual, he said, setting aside his mug. Because your definition tends to include things like suspicious-looking space debris and freighters with non-regulation paint jobs. Observation. Your continued mockery of my tactical vigilance is noted. Nem's lights pulsed in what Marcus had dubbed their mildly offended pattern. Energy signature bears similarity to artifact in cargo hold, but emanates from bearing 047 Mark 223. Distance, approximately 12,000 kilometers. That got Marcus's full attention. Similar how? Processing. Pattern matches quantum resonance frequencies. Additional data. Artifact's containment field experiencing periodic fluctuations when aligned with external source. Of course it is, Marcus muttered. Because we couldn't just have a nice simple cargo run through pirate-infested space. We had to add mysterious energy readings and quantum whatever. Query: should we investigate? Historical databases suggest tactical advantage in gathering intelligence. Marcus was about to say no. They were on a deadline after all, when every display on the bridge suddenly flickered with strange flowing symbols. They looked eerily similar to the patterns on the resonator. Nem? Please tell me that's you being artistic. Negative. Alert. Foreign code attempting to interface with primary systems. Defensive protocols engaging. Also. The ship's voice took on an odd tone. Memory fragments surfacing. Symbols. Familiar. Associated with creator protocols. Creator protocols? Wait, you mean from whoever built you? Before Nem could answer, the bridge was plunged into darkness. When the lights came back on a second later, they were a deep, pulsing purple that Marcus had never seen before. Titans rise. Darkness falls. The symphony begins anew. The voice that boomed through the ship's speakers wasn't Nem's. It was older, deeper, carrying harmonics that made Marcus's teeth ache. Yeah, that's not creepy at all, he muttered, fingers flying over the control panels. Nem, you still with me? Affirmative. Nem's familiar voice returned, though it sounded strained. Foreign presence detected in auxiliary systems, successfully contained in quarantine protocols. However, memory block dissolving. This unit, remember. Fragments. The resonator. It was not a weapon. It was a key. The purple light pulsed faster, and new holographic displays sprang to life around the bridge, showing star charts Marcus had never seen before. Entire sectors of space were marked with the same flowing symbols that had appeared earlier. A key to what? To us. To all of us. The Titans were not simply warships. We were guardians, created to protect against something worse than war. But the details remain corrupted. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the environmental controls. Nem, are you saying there are more ships like you out there? And this artifact is what? Some kind of activation signal? Partial affirmative. But situation more complex. The resonator. It remembers too. It was part of the control network. A node in the symphony. The what now? Before Nem could explain, proximity alarms screamed to life. 3 ships had just dropped out of hyperspace directly in their path. Their design was unlike anything Marcus had seen before, all sharp angles and dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. Oh, come on! Marcus threw up his hands. Let me guess. More interested parties that Dr. Blackwood forgot to mention? Negative. Design unknown. No match in standard databases. Nem's voice hardened. However, tactical systems recognizing threat patterns. These are wrong. Wrong how? Like echoes, copies. They resemble the enemy, the one we were built to fight. The unknown ships opened fire without warning or demands, but instead of conventional weapons, they launched what looked like tendrils of pure darkness that reached across space like hungry serpents. Evasive maneuvers! Marcus grabbed his controls, but Nem was already moving, their massive hull dancing between asteroids with impossible grace. Tactical analysis complete. Enemy weapons designed to corrupt and control, standard shields ineffective, switching to harmonic resonance frequencies. Marcus felt the deck plates vibrate as Nem's weapons powered up. Not their usual defense systems, but something deeper, more primal. The hull itself began to hum with a sound that made his bones shake. Accessing restored protocols, Nem announced, their voice taking on layers of harmonics that matched the resonator's pulsing energy. Titan defense systems online. Symphony protocols engaged. The next few minutes were chaos. Nem wove through the asteroid field like a leaf in the wind, while the dark ships pursued with single-minded determination. But every time their shadow weapons got close, they shattered against shields that glowed with the same patterns as the resonator. Okay, what the hell is going on? Marcus demanded as they spun around a particularly large asteroid. Short version. Short version. The resonator is awakening the Titan network. The enemy knows. They were trapped, sleeping, waiting. Now they want to stop the reactivation. Nem's voice was clearer now, more certain. They are the Void. We were created to contain them. The war you know of. It was only the surface. And the long version? Warning. Multiple enemy reinforcements detected. Recommend postponing long version until tactical situation resolved. Fair enough. Marcus cracked his knuckles. What do you need from me? Take weapons control. I will focus on navigation and shields. Also, was that actual excitement in Nem's voice? Permission to exceed normal power restrictions? Marcus grinned despite the danger. You mean permission to show these shadows what a real Titan can do? Affirmative, though I prefer to think of it as a practical demonstration of superior tactics. Light 'em up, partner. The bridge transformed as dormant systems roared to life. Weapon stations that Marcus had assumed were decorative blazed with energy. The flowing symbols appeared everywhere now, but they felt right, natural, like they'd always been there beneath the surface. Together, they turned to face their pursuers. The dark ships might have been built to corrupt and control, but they'd never faced a Titan with its memories returning, and a human pilot crazy enough to outfly shadows. Hey, Nem. Marcus lined up their first shot. Next time we take a delivery job. Query, yes? Let's ask for a detailed list of any ancient evils that might be following the cargo. Noted. Though technically the void predates most civilizations' concept of evil. They are more akin to less history, more shooting. And as they dove back into battle, Marcus couldn't help but laugh. He'd signed up to haul cargo through pirate-infested space. Instead, he was helping an ancient Guardian warship fight shadow ships from before recorded history. All things considered, it was still better than his last desk job. The Symphony of Battle. You know, Marcus called out as he lined up another shot. When I said I missed the excitement of combat flying, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind. Their latest barrage caught one of the shadow ships dead center, the harmonically charged energy burning through its dark hull like sunlight through fog. The enemy vessel didn't explode so much as unravel, its substance dissolving into the void it had emerged from. Observation? Your skill at understatement remains impressive. Nem's voice carried both amusement and strain as they executed another impossible turn through the asteroid field. Additional observation. Enemy tactics becoming more aggressive. Suggest radical response. Define radical, Marcus said, already wincing internally. Proposal. Channel resonator energy directly through primary weapon systems. Probability of success, 67%. Probability of catastrophic overload, 31%. Remaining 2% involves scenarios too improbable to consider. That's not very comforting. Marcus watched as 4 more shadow ships emerged from hyperspace, their dark forms blotting out the stars. What's in that 2%? Scenarios range from spontaneous dimensional shift to accidentally summoning what your species refers to as a space kraken. Would you like detailed probability breakdowns? Rain check on the kraken stats. Marcus took a deep breath. What do you need me to do? The bridge configuration shifted, holographic controls rearranging themselves into patterns that somehow felt ancient and futuristic at the same time. The flowing symbols from earlier now seemed to move with purpose, forming complex geometries in the air. Your role. Maintain targeting solutions. My role. Channel the symphony. Together. Show these echoes of the void why the Titans were feared, even by darkness itself. The deck plates thrummed with power as Nem interfaced directly with the resonator. The artifact's containment field began to pulse in time with the ship's core systems, creating a harmony that Marcus could feel in his bones. Synchronization initiated! Boomed that deeper voice from earlier, though now it felt less alien, more like Nem's normal voice with centuries of weight behind it. The song remembers its children. The shadow ships seemed to sense what was coming. They broke formation, attempting to surround Nem while launching salvos of their darkness tendril weapons. But the corrupting energy splashed harmlessly against shields that now blazed with geometric light. Here we go, Marcus muttered, settling his hands on the weapons controls. They felt warm, almost alive under his touch. Try not to summon any krakens. Correction, space krakens, entirely different species. Also, brace for harmonic resonance in 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Then Nem began to sing. It wasn't sound, not really. It was pure energy shaped by mathematics so complex they looped back around to feeling like music. The resonator's patterns spread throughout the ship's systems, turning their entire hull into one massive instrument of war. Marcus felt the targeting solutions like notes in a symphony, each shot a beat in a song older than human civilization. He didn't think about firing anymore. He just moved with the rhythm, letting instinct and the strange harmony guide his hands. The shadow ships didn't stand a chance. The first barrage caught 2 of them simultaneously, the energy weapons now trailing geometric patterns that cut through their defenses like they weren't even there. The third tried to dive between asteroids but found its evasive path blocked by perfectly timed shots that herded it right into NEM's main guns. The fourth attempted to retreat into hyperspace, only to discover that the very fabric of space-time was now vibrating in frequencies hostile to its existence. Observation: enemy forces substantially reduced. NEM's voice carried a satisfaction that bordered on smugness. Additional observation: no space krakens detected. Don't jinx it, Marcus warned, though he was grinning. We still have to figure out what to do with alert, incoming transmission, origin, uncertain, carrying Symphony protocols. Before Marcus could object, a new voice filled the bridge. Unlike the booming commands from earlier, this one was softer, carrying harmonics that made him think of wind through ancient ruins. Titan Vessel Nemesis, it said, using what Marcus recognized as incredibly formal galactic common. Your reactivation is noted. The chorus stirs. Identification requested, Nem responded, their voice carrying similar harmonics. This unit's memories remain partially corrupted. I am Solaris, Titan of the Burning Dawn. You were my sister ship in the Third Fleet. The resonator you carry. It awakens more than memories. Marcus leaned forward. There are more of you out there? More Titans? Human presence detected. Was that amusement in Solaris's voice? Still adopting strays, Nemesis? This human is my partner, Nem replied with what Marcus swore was pride. He has proven adequate at war. Thanks, I think. The void stirs, Solaris continued. The seals weaken. The symphony must be restored, or all will be consumed. Coordinates follow. A new set of navigation data flowed across their screens, pointing to a location deep in unexplored space. Well, Marcus sighed. I guess we're not making that delivery deadline after all. Negative. Nem's lights pulsed with what might have been excitement. However, probability of interesting tactical situations, approaching 100%. The doctor is not going to be happy about this. Suggestion: inform Dr. Blackwood that delivery may be delayed due to unforeseen complications involving ancient cosmic horrors and the reactivation of legendary warships. Yeah, I'm sure that'll go over great. Sorry about the priceless artifact, but we needed it to fight the shadow monsters that predate the concept of evil. Will that be cash or credit? The bridge lights flickered in Nem's version of laughter. Alternative suggestion: we could send a fruit basket. Preparations must be made, Solaris cut in, though Marcus could have sworn the other Titan sounded amused. The void gathers its forces. The symphony calls its guardians. Nemesis, try not to delete any more of your memory banks before arriving. That was one time, Nem muttered, sounding remarkably like a scolded sibling. And it was a tactical decision. Of course it was, sister. Coordinates locked. The chorus awaits. As the transmission faded, Marcus slumped in his chair, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few hours. Ancient evils, singing warships, cosmic horror, and now a family reunion with other Titans. So, he said finally, got any other siblings I should know about? Accessing restored memory fragments. Processing. Warning. Family reunion may involve significant tactical complications. How significant? Let us say, the fruit basket may need to be quite large. Marcus laughed despite himself. Here he was, billions of kilometers from home, aboard a legendary warship that was apparently part of some cosmic defense network, heading off to fight horrors from before recorded history. And somehow it still wasn't the strangest cargo run he'd ever done. Hey, Nem? Query. Yes, Marcus? Think we can stop somewhere and get that fruit basket? I have a feeling we're going to need all the goodwill we can get. Affirmative. Though suggestion. Perhaps include tactical ordnance alongside fruit. Personal experience suggests family reunions go smoother with adequate firepower. Now that, Marcus said, setting course for their new destination, is the kind of tactical wisdom I've come to expect from you. Together they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the battlefield behind. Ahead lay answers, danger, and probably a very angry museum curator. But with a former warship as his partner and the symphony of battle still humming through their hull, Marcus couldn't wait to face it all. After all, what was life without a few cosmic horrors to overcome? To be continued,